Regenerate Conference, Health from the Soil Up. Yes. My name is Ann Adams. I'm the Executive Director of Holistic Management International. And it's been such a privilege to work with the staff of the Covera Coalition and the American Grass-Fed Association to host this conference. I believe that the collaboration that we've had will provide many days of networking and great learning. And of course, this conference would not be possible without all of you in the audience, and our funders, and our presenters, and our exhibitors, our volunteers, and the staff at the Hotel Albuquerque. So thank you all for coming and for your contributions of time, money, and talent to help us increase the health of our soils, plants, animals, families, and communities. With the focus of the conference on health from the soil up, I got to thinking about how we're learning so much about soil health right now, and wouldn't it be great if we could apply what we're learning in that arena to improving our human potential? It seems as we might be the weak link in the system, yet I think we do have an incredible opportunity for being a major ally. Regenerative agriculture soil scientists agree on key principles and practices for good soil health. And they revolve around the symbiotic relationship known as the plant-microbe bridge. I think we need to create a microbe-plant-human bridge to reach our full potential as a civilization using 5 principles. 1, engage in mutualism. So Dr. Christine Jones notes that plant life is more about productivity and photosynthetic potential of the plants than their actual biomass, because the microbial community influences the potential. For example, mycorrhizal fungi can significantly increase photosynthetic rate. Likewise, when we're grazing, if we too frequently stress a plant, we can reduce its potential, so the right amount of stress and disturbance is key to unleashing the potential in the system rather than inhibiting it. Similarly, with humans, we've got good stressors like new opportunities and bad stressors like chronic worry. So my question is, how much of our human potential is lessened because of our society or social system that is parasitic rather than mutualistic? And how might we change that? The second principle is feed life. Microbes are actually creating health out of nutrients through symbiosis. If we understand a symbiotic system or results in everyone being fed and nourished, which creates health, then we're inspired to create a culture that respects and honors all life and encourages observation, humility, and cooperation. Third principle is encourage diversity. The greater diversity of plants and animals, the more robust the system. So just as innovative agriculture producers are experimenting on how to introduce and encourage diversity in their systems to gain the benefits that occur through effective symbiotic relationships, so too we can look at the health within our families, organizations, businesses, communities, and nations with a focus on diversity as a benefit and asset rather than a liability or danger. The fourth principle, design effective systems. Regenerative agriculture producers look at what practices are actually damaging the system and costing money, thus reducing the overall production and profitability. The same questions could be asked regarding the function of our families or communities. How do our systems and relationships encourage our family or community to create resilience and productivity, and how don't they? Fifth principle, engage in appropriate disturbance. In a healthy ecosystem, disturbance levels must be appropriate and actually support regeneration and life rather than wreaking havoc on biological communities. To me, this principle is kin to the idea that respectful dialogue can challenge paradigms and dogma in a way that strengthens the community rather than tearing it apart. So I hope over the next 3 days that you consider how you can use these 5 principles to help you prioritize your actions and strategies to create systems to improve your health and that of your community from the soil up. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Does everybody feel healthy this morning after the social last night? I also would like to thank you all so much for being here. I know a lot of you have traveled a long ways and at great expense to be here, and so I just want to acknowledge that. I also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge somebody who I think is not in the room right now because she's still helping people in the hall, but I want to specifically call out Ariel Quintana, who is our primary conference organizer. Her tireless diligence, organization of infinite details, and wherewithal to put up with hundreds of busy people to make this event possible is really quite remarkable. And I just wanted to say her name first thing this morning. So Ariel, I know you're not in here, but thank you. I also just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge where we are. We're in the middle Rio Grande Valley. This is the ancestral home of the Tiwa people, and people have been here for 12,000 years. It's a very long time. And so I just wanted to take a moment to share that with you and ask you to hold the space for all the people who've been here before us. So when we thought about the theme of this year's conference, it seemed really logical to try to illuminate the connections between health, food, and agriculture. But the truth is that these systems are not really connected. They are largely siloed and don't overlap. And another reality is that they could probably continue to operate that way if it wasn't for one large elephant in the room, which is climate change. The rate and scale of climate change that we face in the next 20 years is going to be infinitely faster and greater than what we have seen previously. I think it's sort of beyond our imagination. The Earth's systems of energy exchange are on overdrive, and those of us producing food and stewarding land have a front row seat to witness the impacts on clean air, safe drinking water, nutritious food supply, and safe shelter, and ultimately the health of all of us. The changing climate's impact on these three systems, it'll be beyond what we can imagine. And the reality is we don't have the luxury of watching these systems operate in silos. We have to figure out how we can get them better integrated. And I think Anne sort of has touched on some of this already. In addition to being the week of the Regenerate conference, I spent a little time trying to dig into what does health mean to be able to come up and give these opening remarks. And so I found myself on the World Health Organization website. This is also World Antibiotic Awareness Week, interestingly. And so I spent a little time digging around on that website, and the WHO was formed in 1943 and defined health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And since they created that definition, it seems like it has been a point of debate in the sort of research and medical communities, but more recently has come under more scrutiny as really lacking what a definition of health really needs to encompass. And in my research, I also found an editorial statement from a publication called The Lancet, which is an independent international weekly general medical journal that's been publishing since 1823. And in this article, they sort of bring this point to the fore. It says, health is not merely the absence of pathology. We live in a world where living risk-free and living free of risk and suffering is next to impossible. So we can't think of health as this sort of ideal state of being. The They also say in this article that human health cannot be separated from the health of our total planetary biodiversity. Human beings do not exist in a biological vacuum. We live in an interdependent existence with the totality of the living world. And I think that that's pretty profound coming from a medical journal. This is the only article that I could find that said this, but it also went on to say that given what we know about the microbiome, about the genome, even the most optimistic health advocate surely has to accept the impossibility of this idea of living without risk. And then the third point that it makes comes from a book called The Normal and the Pathological, which was also published in 1943 by a Dr. Georges Canguilhem. And what he said is that health is not something defined statically or mechanistically. Rather, he saw health as the ability to adapt to one's environment, which I think is also a pretty profound statement. Health is not a fixed entity. It varies for every individual depending on their circumstances, and health is not defined by the doctor or the prescriptor, but rather by the individual and their circumstances. If we define health as adaptability, this frees us to be agile in the face of shifting forces, like climate change, that shape the well-being of individuals and of populations. Similarly, I think this adaptability is one of the defining ideas of regenerative agriculture. So, thinking about that, I hope that over the next few days, we can think about what health means to us individually, and then we can think about what we do about it and how we do about it. So, as Anne described mutualism, I think that this is an important point that I would like to make also, that when we make choices about the way that we practice agriculture, about the way that we steward land, about the way that we take care of our own bodies, we have to consider both the individual and the whole. That there is, we have to put the needs of the community at an equal level. And then finally, I think that we have to, and putting the community first means that we have to figure out how to work together. Quivira is founded on this idea of the radical center, and I think in the context of this idea, health from the soil up, that idea is more relevant than ever. And then finally, I think that I hope the next few days encourage you to think about how we make our work as a community of practitioners more visible. The reality is regenerative agriculture is a critical solution in the face of climate change, and we need people to see that. And the way they're going to see it is by all of you being more overtly demonstrative, by being firebrands, by being brave, and by really championing the work that you're doing. So we're doing that here on stage, but I hope that you leave feeling inspired and empowered to go do that more in the world. And I think you're going to see a lot of speakers up here over the next day and a half who are really excellent examples of that. So with that, I welcome you to Health from the Soil Up. Thank you again all so much for being here.
Okay, I'm the only thing standing between you and the rest of the day, lunch and dinner, so I'm going to be brief. I'm Carrie Balkcom, the Executive Director of the American Grass-Fed Association. We're honored to be partnering with these two organizations and with all of you. I'm going to just kind of give you an idea of what we've worked on this last year. About 2.5 years ago, one of my more vocal members, Will Harris, who's in the audience, and we refer to Will a lot, we refer to his Willisms. He called and he said, or texted or something about 4 o'clock in the morning, and he said, we got to do something about this offshore beef. So a group of us got together, we filed a petition with the USDA, Product of the USA, for policy change. That's winding its way through the bowels of Department of USDA commission, and so we're working on that. But in the meantime, we wakened a beast. The U.S. Cattlemen's Association filed a petition several months ago. It's the same thing. Federal Trade Commission is now working on this with us. And then 2 months ago, Senator Mike Rounds, a Republican from South Dakota, filed legislation to change the Beef Integrity Act, Product of the USA. And it all started with an idea about 4 o'clock in the morning from a group of people that we've been working with, Mike Callicrate, Greg Cunthorpe, Joe Maxwell, Will Harris, Brian Sapp from White Oak, Will. A whole group of us have really been pushing for your products to be labeled correctly in the marketplace, because right now beef can come from offshore, be relabeled, repackaged in any way, and be named Product of the USA. You're competing with people offshore who are saying they're doing the same thing you're doing, and we called bullshit on them. So we're working on that policy with that in mind of all of this. So I just wanted to bring that to you. If you have any luck with any of your legislators, we need co-sponsors for that bill. That's a legislation. That's going to take some time to get done. But the petitions for policy change are a little easier. So we started there, and it's growing, but it's protecting all of you and the products that you are putting in the marketplace. The bill that Mike Rounds just recently introduced on October 30th was, let me turn this off, sorry, was referred to the Committee on Ag, Nutrition, and Forestry, so it's moving. But keep your eye on those things. We'll be posting stuff on our website, and as much as it's not really what we do here at this conference, I wanted you to be aware of what we're doing in the background type thing. So I'm very proud of the work that we're doing. I'm very proud of the fact that the U.S. Cattlemen's Association realized that they're supporting this as well, because they're a big organization. They have some lobbying power. We're the little guy in the room, but we're working on it. In preparing for this conference, it starts the day after the conference ends, and we take what we learned at the last conference and moved it forward. And from our perspective, we have some very interesting speakers that you probably would not hear at a regular holistic conference. We have a filmmaker who in 2011 made the movie Resistance about antibiotic resistance. Michael Graziano will be here and speaking. We have a chef who also has a master's in public health, who is with World Central Kitchens, who's feeding after disasters. They just served their millionth meal in the Bahamas. They're giving food to folks in the fires in California, in Australia, and all over the world. So to hear how fragile our food system is, and hearing from Allison, and then we stumbled across this wonderful doctor who's going to bring it all back to human health for you in this keynote speak. I'm very honored to have these people here. So the range of speakers is from the practitioner who's teaching you about the soil and health and animals and all those things is very important. We also have a veterinarian who's going to teach you or start the conversation about managing your animals holistically, because we talk about animals impacting the soil and the earth, but let's bring them into the mix and how you can do that without going to the medicine cabinet and doing that way. So these are all different subjects that we brought into this mix this week. The other thing that I was very passionate about this year was that all the food that you're eating, all of the proteins that you're eating have been sourced from our producers. And that's harder than you think. Trying to source enough for 500 people from small producers, we're very grateful to you, thank you. But we did it, and we're going to continue to do that, because we think if we have to talk, we have to walk the walk at our conferences. And as I sit here with my plastic straw, I'll hide it. But this is kind of off the cuff this morning because my talk when I woke up about 5:30 this morning, and I thought, I'm going to save that for tomorrow because it's a little more thoughtful and philosophical. So I want to get to the nitty-gritty of today and tomorrow and what you're going to hear and some of the speakers, and I'm really excited about them. And this team has worked really, really, really hard to kick ass and bring you speakers that you haven't heard before. So stick around, it's going to be fun. Thank you.
Goatse sehopa, gochinak siachan meranak ko kahanro suta, kukikteme osuta. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ariel Quintana. I am from Cocha de Pueblo, which is one of the indigenous communities here in New Mexico, and I am the Education and Outreach Coordinator for the Quivira Coalition. You have all received emails from me these past couple of months, and I'm so excited to see you all here today. I am honored to welcome Dr. Michael Kototwa Johnson, who is a member of the Hopi tribe in northern Arizona. He will be leading us in an invocation this morning. Dr. Michael Johnson is from the Hopi tribe, as I mentioned. He also serves as the research associate for the Native American Agricultural Fund, which is a nonprofit who awards grants to different types of businesses, nonprofits, and tribes to support Native farmers and ranchers. Dr. Johnson also recently received his PhD from the University of Arizona, School of Natural Resources and the Environment. He is a traditional Hopi farmer and practitioner and has been implementing the practices of Hopi dryland farming, which have been used since time immemorial. And I'm very honored today to introduce him and have him here with us. If everyone could please stand.
Loloma, are you happy? You know, so I'm just going to say a short prayer. At Hopi, when we have our ceremonies, it's not just about Hopi, it's about everybody. We pray for everybody. So it's an honor for me to be asked to say a prayer today, and so I'll do that. And for Hopi, things like this is life. We've been doing this for time immemorial. So this represents who we are. So at Hopi, we believe that we are corn. You know, and so it's very important. This is our mother. You know, as long as we're taking care of our mother, she'll take care of us no matter what happens. And so and I think what I'll do, just because this is unique, this corn is unique in the fact that it's heirloom varieties, and it's been passed down from generation to generation to get it come like this. So I think what I think I'll do is just pass this, and everybody can just touch that sometime during this morning, you know. And if you want to take a seed, you know. But it's life, and it's very important. So here's my prayer. Sotignum, bless this conference. Let it continue to reign in our area environment. Let us always be humble. Remember that we should always be humble first. Take care of each and every one of us, as we all have good things to say. Make sure that we have a safe journey home. And thank you for just letting us be alive and be able to walk one more day on this earth. Kwakoi. That's amen, I guess.